This is the Indonesia Channel.
Coming up on today's Indonesia, 17 Indonesians are still missing in the deadly Nepal quake. The day has come for death row inmates after an official notice on their imminent execution. And Sepinggan's International Airport in East Kalimantan has been named as one of the world's airports with best service. Selamat berjumpa lagi. Welcome to today's Indonesia from Jakarta. I am Luisa Kusnandar. It was supposed to be a honeymoon, but it turned into a nightmare after an Indonesian couple was declared missing in Nepal due to massive quake. Kadek Andana and Alma Parahita were among 17 Indonesians in Nepal who have not been found as of Monday. Authorities have confirmed that there are 34 Indonesians in Nepal. 18 of them are residents, while 16 others were tourists. The government plans to send humanitarian aid to Nepal.
Kita tadi baru sampaikan ke Menteri Luar Negeri untuk Indonesia siap membantu.
ASEAN leaders also expressed their concern over the tragedy at the 26th ASEAN Summit in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia on Monday. They also plan to extend their assistance to the country. An earthquake measuring 7.9 Richter scale shook Nepal on Saturday and has since killed more than 3,000 people. Back home, 2 people were killed and 4 others are still missing after a landslide buried a stone quarry in Gunung Kuda district of Cirebon, West Java. A rock facade of some 70 meters suddenly fell after intense rain in the area on Sunday. 5 of the workers and 1 police officer were buried under the landslide. Local police deployed a number of heavy machinery to locate the missing victims. The 2 victims found so far were both heavy machinery operators. The government said the execution of drug convicts would be done within days after a formal notice. On Friday, at least 3 of 10 drug convicts on death row were given a 72-hour notice on their imminent execution. Relatives of Bali 9 pair made a grim journey to the Nusa Kambangan prison island on the weekend, where they were detained. Authorities have not yet officially announced the execution date. However, they will move forward with the plan despite protests.
Saya sudah berkali-kali menyampaikan saya nggak akan ngomong lagi. Saya tidak akan ngomong lagi mengenai hukuman mati. Tanyakan Kejaksaan Agung.
The pending executions have caused both domestic and international outcry, particularly in Australia, France, and Philippines. We get perspective now from our viewpoint analyst. Wimar Witoelar is here. He's a former presidential spokesman, now running his own communications company. Wimar, we've been discussing this issue for the past couple of months, and we know that in the Asian African Conference, the President Widodo called leaders to end extremists, while in contrast, he's still going forward with this plan. How will this affect Indonesia's credibility?
Well, they are not inconsistent. The execution as a matter of implementation of domestic law and policy in terms of extremism are unrelated. I have always been against the death penalty, but since the law in Indonesia so far has been fully on the side that narcotics violators should be executed, then that seems to be the case. We should work for reform of the law.
Well, I understand that you are against the death penalty, though, but what's your stance on President Jokowi's decision on going forward with this execution plan?
Well, I have to agree with the president that being the president is no place for him to exercise his personal viewpoints. If the law says he has to execute, then he should execute, whether or not he personally agrees or disagrees. If he really disagrees, he should, as I said, change the law.
Well, we can see a bigger hometown outcry compared to the first batch execution that was on last January. Activists said it didn't give any deterrent effect. Now, so it only caused international protests. How do you see this?
Well, I don't know about the deterrent effect, since I'm not an expert in deterrence. As far as the international impact is concerned, first and foremost, I think the president should heed his domestic constituency and the domestic law, and only subordinate to that, he has to watch for his international impact. So it should not be the other way around. You should not gear the domestic policies to please international outsiders.
Well, let's talk about the other international impact here? We know that there are currently people who are on death row, such as in Saudi Arabia. This will make it more difficult for Indonesia to help them too. What do you have to say on this?
Yes, a tactical matter. It does make it more difficult. But again, law should not be based on tactical matters. It should be based on principle. I happen to disagree with the death penalty. But if you agree with the death penalty, then you should not compromise on that agreement and let the democratic mechanism decide which viewpoint wins out in the end.
So being consistent, although there are so many critics against you all over the world.
That's why it's difficult to be a president. That's why only Jokowi can be a president.
Of course,
right
Wimar. Now, we hear stronger protests emerge from foreign governments against death penalty. It means diplomatic fallout is inevitable in the future.
It is. Remember that when Lee Kuan Yew executed 2 Indonesian soldiers, Indonesia also protested vehemently, violently. They still executed these 2 Marines. And there was bad vibes for a while, but later on they come together.
So
C'est la vie.
We'll
That's
see.
life.
We'll see what happens. Wimar, Witoelar, thank you so much for coming and sharing your thoughts with us today.